Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Every Day's a Train Wreck with your host, Marley Major. And I gotta say, I've got a good one for you. And I know I say that every time, but this guy is really good. Like, put it this way, good. You wouldn't be even listening to this podcast if it weren't for him. So I'm going to give you the backstory. He's going to give you his version. But please welcome Adam Torres from Mission Matters. He's going to give you his real bio and his real title and all that stuff. And if you guys didn't listen to the podcast with Sharab, you must. Are you Batman or is he Robin? We got to figure that out. Anyway. Adam, jump in and say hi.
Oh my gosh, Marley, I've been listening to your show and let me tell you, like, I feel like I'm from Michigan originally, from Detroit, and I'll say that I feel like I'm almost like an insider and I know so much more about LA. I listened to that episode, the Rose Queen, there's murder, there's this, there's that. I host a business podcast, Marley. Come on. Like, I don't have every day's a train wreck going on here, but I feel like honored.
You feel the wreck? You smell the smoke? You feel the wreck?
Honored to be part of the wreck. I'm in. I'm in.
Well, I am glad to hear that because this train just continues to go. And you know, it's so funny because we just hired this new chief of staff, right? And bless him. He's a totally normal individual. And the guy went through, I think, 99 interviews because I still have not learned after, 30 something years of entrepreneurship that people can so fake their resume and tell you, oh yeah. And then they've got like another company and another life and they don't even live in the town and this whole thing. So this poor guy. And so his first day was yesterday. And talk about every day as a train wreck. I was so trying to be on my best behavior. Like, I can't even describe to you. Okay. I had all weekend been like, working on this. Now, mind you, it wasn't until the morning of that. I was, what's his email address going to be? Oh, yeah. Oh, like, it's not like I haven't known he's going to start for a month or something.
Yeah.
And so he gets here. Okay, great. Housekeeper's here. The brush clearance guy, so that we don't have fires. Isn't that ironic with fire prevention? He's here. Then, he needs to now cut more trees because of more fire near the house. So there's that negotiation. But I said, well, we're going to have a 10 o'clock call or 12 o'clock call here. Then we're going to have this call. You just listen in. And then I was like, just moving the computer. I'm like, hi, you guys, meet Derek. He's just going to, he's kind of my babysitter. And then, okay. And then, blah, 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 meetings. And then I totally freaking forgot. Okay, my daughter's in final. So she rolls in at noon, like, hi, mom. Like, oh, and I was like, oh my God. Okay, please hold. Story developing. You remember Derek. Hi. Back to studying whatever she was studying, right?
Gosh.
And then I'm like, by now we have this whole crowd, right? So I was like, okay, we better order lunch for everybody. What does everybody want? And then meanwhile, new chief of staff is like, hi, you have your call in 2 minutes. Like, basically, have you not been hearing the snooze alarms and whatever that I'm like, oh yeah. Meanwhile, my hands are in the dirt, repotting something because that's the only time I can think. Then we get there and I'm in the middle of the call and all of a sudden I'm like, oh, MFer. The manicurist is coming over because if I don't get the manicure, I chew my nails to the bit. So then we have the manicurist there, the tree trimming guy. That my daughter is in a kiss aunt mood, of course, about something. The dogs come out. One dog goes over the hill. We have a lost dog now. I think, wow, if he makes it tomorrow.
And this is all in the span of like an hour.
Oh, exactly. And it's all in the span of this poor guy's first day. And then because now I'm like keeping everybody very close to the vest. So I know him because of his sister. So I called the sister and I was like basically there's not a chance in hell this gentleman is going to make it. And then I was like walking and like I was doing like so proud to do the tour and be like, here's where you park. Like, here's the restroom. And then I was like, okay, here's the pantry. Do you see right now how this stuff is not properly organized and labeled in the OXO containers? Like, do you see the supplies? I mean, and I'm like, oh, that's right. You're not going to be doing this, but you're kind of just in charge of like, so that the mini trains don't wreck, you know? So today we're going to do the podcast that you get to see the lighting, you get to see the whatever. And then he comes upstairs. He's like, hi, do you realize like, you're doing this in like 4 minutes. I'm like, oh yeah. I mean, I'm thinking 2 minutes ahead of yesterday, right? Because yesterday I still had my hands in the dirt. Like now, at least I've showered and I'm prepared. And I'm like, so I'm telling you about this guest and I'm like, no, Adam's the guy because Adam, you and I had this conversation. So I was on Adam's podcast. Adam has about 12 podcasts, by the way. I was on one of them and I was like, this is kind of like a big guy that I'm getting to be on this podcast. And then I remember, we were just chatting and having, had a great time. And then you were like, oh, have you ever, afterwards, whatever, you ever thought of doing? And I was like, oh, MF, man. I mean, I was like, Adam, you know how many times I've had this conversation? It's like the reality TV thing. Have you ever thought of being on reality TV? I'm like, do you know how many times I still get these emails from like below deck? Like, can you please bring a group? We would like to cast you. I'm like, below deck for me would be overboard, like in 3 seconds. So I was like, yeah, okay, whatever. I'll set up a call. And then I actually was like, he's so nice. Of course, I'm going to do it. And then you come to me with statistics about how the podcast life is like the Wild West and the numbers. I mean, and I never met a statistic I didn't like. And all of a sudden I was like, okay. And I remember asking you so many questions like, who owns it? What about this? What if I change this? What if I blah, 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 blah. And then I was like, I remember even texting you on the plane. I'm like, I have it. I have the name. Every day is a train wreck. And then it was like, pause. And it's like you're waiting for somebody like to have the ... like to see if they respond. And I don't know, I think it might have taken you 5 minutes or something. But I was like, oh my God, he hates it. I knew it. He hates it. He's never going to let it do because this is on his thing. And then you're like, great.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Okay, here we go. So 6 months more than, like 6 months later, I can't believe it. We've done one a week. Even though I broke my back, I still was taping podcasts. And here we are. So tell us what it is exactly you do.
Yeah.
Shirag has his version.
Yeah.
Of what you guys do. But what's yours?
First off, I've met hundreds of podcasters, and I think you have the record for the only one I've ever met that taped through breaking their back. I don't say this laughing.
Taped
I'm not
many.
No, I know. And for people listening, I can't let Marley glance over that for a moment. I just need people to understand how this was done. You were laying down. You had the computer in front of you. You couldn't lean up. You were literally flat, and you were still going. And I remember one particular call we had, and I think I was complaining about something, and then I realized how stupid I sounded. What did you say? You said something about pull up something. I don't even know what you said.
It's probably something like nice first world problems, clown. Like at least you can sit up straight. Meanwhile, I'm 10 seconds from intravenous soup. Yeah.
Oh my gosh. But the craziest thing to me was that your episodes are still good. You still had all this energy. You were still in the moment. And I'm just, between you and I and everybody listening, I was so inspired. I was just like that. I was like, oh my gosh, Adam, you freaking crybaby, pansy. What are you talking about?
Oh yeah, that's I think what I said. It was little boo-hoo-hoo, boo-hoo-hoo, little, only child, coddle. I'll send you a tissue and a Snuggie.
I was like, oh my gosh, yeah, poor you. You have to go record another podcast. Your back isn't freaking broken.
Right, exactly. Are you on 24/7 dry ice? Do you too have a physical therapist who's going to come and rip you a new one?
So such an inspiration. I just had to start with that. I'm not even joking. That was I was like, oh my. So if you're out there and you say, do you want to launch a podcast or can you launch one? I mean, I
know you were like this. Finally, okay, we got this girl. This is going to literally be a train wreck. This is going to be, and I was like, I commit. And my boyfriend's like, okay, how are you going to do this? Did you think the timing, blah, blah? I'm like, A, I committed before I fell off the horse. Yeah. B, I signed a contract. Now I'm very sure I probably could have done. I was I have made a commitment. The world is waiting for weekly, every day.
The world is waiting, and I'm so happy about this.
And I am really, have to tell you, thank you. I am really enjoying it. And it's funny because when I know, to me, it was it still kind of does sometimes feel like every person has a podcast. It feels like every person has a podcast.
Yeah.
Just like everybody has a website, But I guess at the end of the day, they really don't. But why does it feel that way? Like, is it because every celebrity has one and we keep hearing about them like, oh, on my podcast with da 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 da? Or do people have them
I
but they
think
don't
I
tape
think for
regularly
you
or
and
what?
I think for you and I, the reason is because we're in LA, so we're in big cities.
Right.
And so
Yeah.
the thing is we have different conversations. But what I like to do, and this is one of, so just reflecting back to what you mentioned, Marley, about like our discussions and statistics,
Yeah.
if we just look at the numbers, 150 million plus YouTube channels, there's less than 4 million podcasts, and not all of those are active. So when you
That's
think about
right. That's
like what we're doing, nobody has a podcast in the world if there's only 4 million. We're
yeah,
basically
you're
like
right.
in
Huh.
year one of YouTube, basically.
That's
And
a
so
terrific way
even
to
though
put
it's
it.
been around for a long time, it's more so because you and I are in LA. If you're in LA, you're in New York, people have them. But even the curious thing about that is even people that have them and or have had them,
Hmm.
most haven't gotten over the, I've heard many statistics, but I'll use one that I've heard.
Hmm.
Most haven't gotten over 24 episodes. So
Really?
somebody might know, I mean, literally. So somebody may have had a podcast and they
Yeah.
started it because it was really easy and
Yeah.
they just kind of like launched it real quick, recorded an episode or two, but did they even make it past like the 20 some episode mark? Most have not. If you start like, and I'm not an expert on this one, I've heard many
Yeah.
different numbers, but if you look
Yeah.
at active podcasts and if you
Yeah.
look at people that have a catalog over 100,
Yeah.
I mean, we're talking in the hundreds of thousands, I'm guessing, of
Wow, that's
actual
really,
shows.
you know what? You're probably right because you're right. It's probably
Yeah.
one of those things where it's like low barriers to entry
Yep.
or
Yep.
lower now. I mean, it didn't used to be before. It was like,
Oh, yeah.
a little bit scary. But now, I mean, technically, I guess you could do it from your iPhone or something. And
My first, so going back to that, Marley, and this is, so you asked originally, what do I do? My
mhm,
aim and my goal and my mission is really to inspire other people to become creators and to share their story. I feel like everybody has their own message, they have their own mission, they also have their own story to tell. And unlike any other time in history, at
mhm,
this point in time, we get to be our own historians. We get to participate. In the past,
yeah,
other people wrote our histories and our stories for us. So
right.
those that were, and I don't mean like in conspiracy theory. Sure, there are some conspiracies that are true, but I
Yeah.
mean more so if we go back to the basics. I mean, if you had access to how far back we go, and if you had the chisel and if you had the
Oh,
tablet, like
exactly.
that's
Right.
that's
Right.
who wrote the story. If you had the papyrus and if you had a little bit of ink, that's who wrote the story. And so if you were the one that could memorize the best and you
You're
and you
right.
were reciting the long poem and you were the one passing it down because you're the one that could remember something, it wouldn't have been me, that's for dang sure.
Well,
Then
it wouldn't have
that's the
been me
story that was
remembering it accurately. That's for damn sure. I'd be like, oh, and then that Adam clown, boy, was he a
it would
wuss.
have
And
been
then,
all off,
yeah.
all off. So now my aim and my goal is, and then the reason why, and you don't know this, Marley, but I've been actually, this is the first year that I've actually been guesting on other shows. So I've, for
No
context, no, it's
way.
true. For context, for everybody else that's listening to this, I've done over 6,000 interviews. This year I will do between 1,500 and 2,000 interviews. And this year was actually the first, and I just started. And the reason I started is because my even concept of what I do changed.
Hmm.
And
How?
in the beginning, it was more like, build a company, build a
Yeah.
media company, do
Right.
all of these things. And the aim and the goal was really to help others, to help them tell their
Yeah.
stories, and a lot of the things around personal branding, marketing, a lot of the benefits in business.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, when I lost my mother last October to a tornado of all things, it
I
was
mean,
just it was just very sudden. Literally one day I'm talking to her about it, and then the next morning she's
it's
gone. And
insane.
yeah, it's an insane story, but that's what kind of changed a bit of my perspective. And I feel like God sometimes gives us other things and other hints. And one of the things that I value most at this point in my life are really those recordings with my mom. I brought her on the podcast multiple
Mm,
times. So when I think
you
about
didn't
that, and
think
when
of
I think
them.
about how much I value and like the legacy of that, I don't have kids yet. I
Mm.
want them one day, hopefully. But if I have kids one day, they're going to get to hear their grandmother, but from her voice through that podcast. So the reason I started coming on shows and guesting and doing things like that is because it just took on a whole nother layer of not just legacy for
Yeah.
myself, but in terms of trying to explain a whole nother perspective of what this is we're actually doing. When
Yeah.
you bring me on this show, Marley, we're now part of each other's legacy. We're
Right.
part of each other's history. We've created a new piece of content that will live on far past us. And that stands for all of the guests you've had.
Yeah.
And what'll happen is, one day I'll no longer be here, right? And
Oh, don't
maybe
even say
my
that.
my
I'm not done.
kids, my grandkids, my
Yeah.
great grandkids, maybe if I'm fortunate enough, will one day listen to this and they will understand and they will be like, wow, that's who my great grandpa was. And
Right.
wow, who's this Marley lady? Every day's a
Right.
train wreck. Wow, she
Right.
was fun.
Right.
But
Right.
it's important. Like what we do is important. And so that's why this year, again, I've done over 6,000 interviews given. I just started coming on shows this year because I was thinking about it and I'm like, this is a message that's bigger than what I'm doing on a daily basis, which I think is quite large, being a part of it and helping other people.
Yeah.
But I wanted others to hear the message of like, they need to tell their story. They need to create. And by the way, I may be biased because obviously we run a podcast agency, but I
think
just
you're right.
mean like whatever it is though. I mean, it could be an Instagram account, it can be a blog, it can be a newsletter, it can be whatever, but like participate, like get in the game, share your gift, share your light with the world. That's the goal.
Well, and of course, you, Mr. Positive, are like share the light with the world, and meanwhile, I'm sharing the the tracks and coal and smoke behind me. But the other thing that I take from your mom passed away, and then it kind of shifted things is like I'm half Irish, and we have this thing about the men don't get married until the mother dies, right? So as soon as you say this, I transition to, oh, would you like to be set up? Are you dating anybody? Like my whole mind goes to,
Is that an Irish thing? Is this true?
100%. There's a whole thing. That's why Irish men sometimes don't get married till way later. And it's because it's like, oh, they don't, I mean, I don't know.
No,
how,
I understand.
factual,
it's just new
right?
for me. Yeah,
right.
Yeah.
But it's like, because the mom hasn't passed away or whatever. And then and that makes sense. I mean, me as like a half Irish, half Polish, I have to be very careful because my son is getting married and I do love her. But this is all I need. Mom, what were you saying on that? Blah, 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 blah. So I'm not saying that my son should kill me before the wedding, but I'm just saying I kind of understand it, right? Yeah. So that's where then I'm like, okay, well, like, what are you looking there for, Adam? And you're going to be like, I ain't looking for nothing right now from you, let alone a setup. But I just want to put that on your radar that I'm 100% available for setups.
I have a girlfriend.
Oh,
yeah.
You do?
I do, yes.
For how long?
A bit now, yeah. If you go Instagram, ask Adam Torres, you'll see.
No way.
Yes, way.
And you're exclusive?
Yes. Breaking news on Every Day's a Train Wreck.
100% break. I mean, because literally, I mean, you could be gay. You could be like, who knows what you could be. Now you're in a full-on committed. Could you propose on Every Day's a Train Wreck when you decide to do that?
Game on.
Oh.
That'll be the best.
Right? I love my freaking life right
You
now.
have that commitment, actually. That's amazing.
Yes. Wait till I tell Sharad. Yoo-hoo, I got me a scoop coming. Man, this will be the fastest road to engagement anybody's ever seen.
That's funny.
God, thank you, Marla. That was a really great freaking idea. Okay, well, how'd you meet her? Did you meet her online like everybody else?
Actually, it was in the podcasting space of all things, of course.
What?
Like she was,
You interviewed her and then you trolled on her?
No. She was looking to launch a show.
I'm sure she wanted
some help and some other things like that. And it kind of struck from there. Like there was chemistry. Yeah, it's
not Patrice, right?
No, she's in Connecticut and she's happily married and has kids.
Okay, now I'm going to start guessing. Okay, so does she have a podcast now?
Yes, and it's not. Yeah, you'll see it all.
Oh, actually,
you know what I think? I think you need to be a guest on her show. That would be epic.
Oh, great! What's her show?
I'll book her, and you can book her.
100%. I'd be like 1 to 10. How's the wizard?
Oh my gosh, that would be so much fun. Actually, now that I think about it, we got to get her booked on.
Yeah, 100%. 100%. I'll be like, you know what? Unfortunately, did I meet you before you
me
met
and
her?
Chirag, we're
Right,
the boring
exactly. Yeah, right,
interviews.
Chirag. Night, night. You and your big plans.
Forget us.
You
We're the
know,
boring
Sarah,
interviews.
who cares about that, you clowns? Yeah, I want the real dirt on her. I want how many bad boyfriends she had before she met you. I want, did you ever forget Valentine's Day? That's what I want from her. Okay, did you meet her before you met me?
No.
Oh, shut up. So I could have closed you maybe.
Yeah.
You know what, man? What in the hell? Okay, well, that's good. I didn't play my cards right. I'm going to tell
Oh my
Sherrod, thanks for
gosh.
the heads up. I could have closed Adam myself. Yeah, well, you know what? All right, I can be your lady in waiting. Okay. All right, so we'll go over now this is awesome. And she lives in LA.
Yeah. We're gonna get her booked on your
I was
show.
gonna say,
It's
like,
the best.
how's later today? I've got my hair and makeup done, right? I don't have any gardening in my future, so let's go. I freaking, you know what? Yeah, all you have to do now, and I'm thinking this because, like, I'm like love to set people up, and in my day, I was known as the kissing bandit, and
hold on, what does that mean?
the kissing bandit means I just would get myself somehow in very random situations. A lot of my friends will laugh, where I'd be pulled into in these there's this one particular hotel called the Langham. Like it used to be the Huntington Hotel. Like we still all call it
Pasadena.
Huntington. Yeah. And so all of us, it's like our little Pasadena, mafia, whatever. And so we'd all hang up and, you have a couple cocktails, whatever. So they'd have these rooms that were like old telephone things, like, you know what I mean? Like when it was like a club kind of thing. You could be on your phone, whatever. So for some reason, after a couple people had a few too many drinks. For some reason, I was like the girl in the telephone closet, and nobody told Langham security. But yeah, so then it was like the kissing bandit. And then my friends would joke and say that it was mating season. That was, mating season. Now that I'm thinking about it, I'm going back. Oh my God, I'm going to be single in about 10 seconds after this. But mating season was always kind of like after Valentine's Day for sure. And was like kind of in the spring. And that's right. Then harvest time was October, I think, because that's when like all the our social events would happen.
Yeah.
And we'd always have like one right after another, after another, after another.
Yeah.
And, the weather's getting cold and I'm in like snuggly sweaters and, hunter boots. And yeah, boy, those were the days. Okay.
Taking you back.
Yeah, taking me back to the kissing bandit days. Again, I have to really pay very close attention to who watches these things. But I mean, who's listening and also what I'm saying. Thank you. So talk about what my grandchildren are going to be listening to. My mother was the hoe of the Langham. Grandma was the hoe at the Langham in the old telephone booth. Let's put a plaque there. Yeah, the party goddess was here with the big lips, right? Jesus, Mary, and Joseph. Anyway, but the good news is that I was the kissing bandit. I was not the
yes,
let's get gonorrhea in there. I mean, it was limited to let's have a smooch and everybody realize what we're doing. Okay, so back at the ranch. I'm just
back at the ranch, exactly.
I am so amazed that I'm just shocked that this girl closed you. Or did you close her? Or did she close you?
Me, of course.
You closed her.
Yes.
Of course. Oh, excuse me. Of course. Suave bola. Okay.
Well, no, not that, but you know.
Yeah. Okay, I'm hot. All right. Mr. 6,000. Yeah, anyway, so I know what the whole point of all this was going to be to say, hey, if you want to do something, just have a podcast, and then put your face out there and your name and all that kind of stuff. And then guess what? Somebody will come a calling, or at the very least, you get the pick of the litter, right? Especially if you're the host, you get to say, hey, so what's the deal? Oh, yeah. It's been tough out there for you. How old is she?
Younger than me. So about 10 years younger than me. Yeah.
Ooh, nice. So that you're going to close that deal for sure.
Yeah.
I get it. Okay. Yeah. So you're just heading right down. Listen, I mean, well, it just, you're a Latin gentleman, right? You're 10 years older. I'm assuming her eggs are good, etc. And, you're traveling guy. So now isn't it interesting? Your mom has passed. I'm sorry again about that.
Of course.
But
the Irish thing, I understand.
The Irish thing, maybe you should do a 23andMe here live on Every Day's a Trainer, because maybe you have some Irish in you, and now you have a new lease on life, right? And now you're a guest on other people's podcasts.
Yes.
And now you're getting engaged by the end of the year. Thank you for
Whoa.
manifesting that on. I also am very good with diamond dealers. I'm very good, like all that kind of stuff. Like I don't ask her if she wants an alternative stone or something. Maybe I could ask her on the podcast. So anyway, I just want you to know I'm a full service friend and podcast
I
host
see this.
with
This
you.
is
Okay.
great.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. No stone left unturned. Um,
Pun intended. Come on.
exactly. Just saying, no 5 carat stone left unturned. Okay, good. Well, I'm glad.
Dang.
I hope that rev generation machine you got with Shrug is really cranking there because there are a lot of. I'm assuming you haven't been married before, right?
I have not. No, that's correct.
Okay, well there you go. So yeah, you're gonna have the shock of your life when she lays some statistics. I mean, when I lay some statistics on you about the ring's got to be like 5 times your net worth or whatever. So
Dang.
yeah, well, just yeah, actually, I'm gonna be the best thing ever happened to this girl. Okay, thank
Sounds
you.
like it.
On that note, like, yeah, slip me a DM by the way if anything starts to go south, so that I start pitching her on cubic zirconia if you tell me she's not the one.
Awesome.
Okay, so how many podcasts have you been a guest on now officially? You've taped 6,000 whatever
I
yourself.
feel like I'm approaching 50 since beginning of the year. Yeah.
50?
Yeah.
Okay, so here's my next question, and this is a
Yeah.
genuine, serious question, which
Go for it.
I do not understand how you have the brain capacity and are you just the total extrovert? Or no, because Shrug says
Um,
you're an introvert, kind of.
I am. I absolutely am. I think I'm just wired differently for this one particular thing. Like, I love it. Like, just for example, this morning, I was figuratively speaking, I was in Brazil, I was in England, I was in like a bunch of different areas, and that's doing interviews, right? And so now you're in LA. So I've gone all around the world really. And
Wow.
it's 11:05 a.m. I think I started at 7, maybe 8 a.m.
Okay, but listen, I can talk a blue streak, as any of our past guests can tell you.
Mhm.
I can only do like so many interviews or so many, whether I'm being interviewed or I'm interviewing somebody or so many conference calls a
Mm,
day before I am like, my brain matter has been stripped, my
yeah.
circuits are fried. Like, oh no. So let me phrase it this way. So you're doing all these interviews. Well, let
Yep.
me ask you another question. Is doing interviews the same thing as you chatting for the same amount of time at a cocktail party?
Well, let me take it a step back. It's a good question, but something just so that other people that listen
Yeah.
to this too understand that it's in the design. So,
What
what I
does
mean
that
by
mean?
that, and when you think about the company as a whole,
Yeah.
the way Shirag and I designed it is I spend 70% of my time in front of camera or recording, and the other 30% running the company as CEO. So, what happens is all of
Mm,
our profit centers have their own executives that are responsible for, and many times super, like they've run funded startups, they've done other
mhm,
things like that. So, they got their stuff together, let's just say. And so, what happens is, the mechanism of the company on the back end is running and everybody's doing what they need to be doing. The
mhm,
company's moving. And my main focus is
mhm,
doing the interviews. So what happens is when we started the business, it was just myself and Shirag. And just to give you some context, my record for interviews is 91 in 1 week. My
What?
average,
That's not
those are
even
real numbers. No, that's real
possible.
numbers. That's 6 days, that's 15 hours straight, and I didn't use the bathroom unless somebody canceled. Like, literally, I'm talking about I have
So you're the guy
8-hour
that like has
stretches of
the
sitting.
astronaut in the diapers or whatever. That remember she
I
drove
mean,
across
I
the
didn't have
country
to
to
go
kill the
that
guy.
far. I didn't have
Oh
to go that
my!
far, but this is
Wow.
real, and I did this for years, by the way. And so that's how you get over 6,000 interviews. And my average per week was 70. It was 70. That was how many interviews I did per week for years. And so when we think about that, I built up a endurance. It's like you going to the gym
Oh
and you
yeah.
start
Okay.
doing this. So now, right now, I'm kind of a part timer because I only do like 40 a week, 40 to 50.
My
So that's kind of like part time if you think about it. And for me,
Yeah, because you're
mentally,
in
in terms of
love.
endurance.
That's why. That's why you're in
Exactly.
love. How she freaking cut down. You
So
said
but in the
Shirag? Yeah.
beginning, Marley, but like, let's talk about the beginning.
Yeah.
When I would finish a day like that, I would
Yeah.
be in the fetal position with a block of ice on my head, just like pounding with a splitting headache every single day for months and months and months. Cause it's like literally you're training like at an Olympian level, like literally, like you're
Okay. So
15
so
hours.
many questions come like spider from this. So number
Yeah.
one, how did you even come up with that many people to interview?
So this is the thing. We had, and this is I guess this is the magic of it. I can't really explain how this part of it happened, but
Yeah.
there was just this demand to come on the show. And even to this day, we had last year over 30,000 people apply to come on the show.
And
So just for
okay,
context.
on that note, from a business perspective, where do you have the like apply to be on the show?
It's just missionmatters.com or anywhere you go. If you go to my Instagram and ask Adam Torres and you click on the link, you're going to see something there that says there's the application on the link. Like you'll click on it and you'll see it, or anywhere else really. So there's anywhere that you go for the most part, like with our content in terms of like the actual channels, you're going to see an application field. So people are able to do that.
30,000 people.
Yep.
Apply to be on your show.
Yeah, this year we just started doing things internationally. So now it's I think going to get even more interesting. That was just the United States. Like that was the US market. But now when I'm talking about doing these interviews around the world and all these other things, that's just this year. We've intentionally not done anything international because we wanted to make sure we had more infrastructure built, like more employees, more things to actually capture. Because for us, we're talking a lot about like numbers in terms of like quantity, but for me, it's ultimately quality. Like we didn't want to do just a bunch of interviews. Like we want to make sure that the quality in each person, and I can't say that I had, again, the vision that I do now based on what happened to my mom, based on this understanding of legacy. But even in the beginning, Shrag and I just knew we didn't want to put out crap. Easily said, like, we don't want to put out a bunch of just stuff that nobody cares about. Like, so me as a host, I've always gone in, and I didn't come from the entertainment background or from that hosting background, but so I've essentially studied it from the beginning on and read at least 100 books on it. And I can't tell you how many audiobooks and things like that, studying all the greats, like the Johnny Carsons, the Bob Hopes, the Howard Sterns. Like I've read all their biographies, everything you can imagine, the Seinfelds, so I study this like I did when I was in finance. When I was in finance, I had my Series 6, 7, 66, insurance license, you name it. So
Sherrod did give you a shout out about that, by the way. He was like, Adam's got all the licenses, all the whatever. I mean, that's hard.
So I took that. Well, so I took that same intensity and I took that same ability to learn. And when I decided that this is what I was going to do, I put that same effort into studying the greats and the best that have ever done this business so that I can learn. The good thing about this particular business is everybody has a book. Everybody has a book. Unlike finance, the best traders in the world, the wealthiest traders, you're not going to pick up a book and find out what they do and how they think and what happened in their career because probably they're very private and probably they're not going to share that information because they don't need and or want to. They want to maintain their anonymity and their privacy. So the best in the world you're never going to hear about in finance. In this case, the best in the world have many books out there. So if you're serious about being a host in your craft, then all of the answers are there. It's just, are you willing to, go look for it?
I just am. I mean, you know this about me too. It's like, I'm a huge reader, huge audio. I mean, just putting my makeup on before I'm like listening to this audiobook, the biography. And so I drink the Kool-Aid, but it never dawned on me to like in my library right now, I have tons of like public speaking books or, presentations, that kind of stuff. But it's when you're talking about Johnny Carson and Howard Stern and stuff, are you
David Letterman, all of them.
Was it
Jay
because
Leno.
they are interviewers that's you studied them? Or is it because they were entertainers or a little bit of both? Or you just liked them? Like, what was your criterion for who you'd read?
If you were to say who's the best ever in this business, like depending on what age you are, and if you know, people would say Johnny Carson, right? 30 years on the air, the amount of money that man generated the amount of he invented, like so much. If you think about the entire infrastructure of what we do, I mean, he picked up on things like Red Skelton and like all, and the people before him, and they built everywhere from vaudeville on, and they built layers into now the medium that we have. And so all of the answers were always there. So what I did was, and my style in general, just of learning, is I try to get further and further back to like the primary sources.
Yeah.
And so as I go further and further, and even just the industry side of things, like when I'll give you one quick comparison that
Mhm.
came out of my reading that I haven't really heard anybody else talk about, but it's one of the things that I think I put together. I didn't read anywhere else. But if you think about when radio was building,
Yeah.
and why I think that people that maybe would want to start a podcast or should start a podcast, if myself, Adam Torres, as a media executive back in the day, wanted
Mhm.
to do this exact same business that I'm doing, I would have had to get you a broadcasting license, Marley. I'd have to be like, what, FCC? I'd have to have
Mhm.
a radio tower. I'd have to do all these other things. And that's just for one station. So
Right.
now if I want to have stations all around the country,
Oh,
all
yeah.
of that investment, all of that money, all of that time, well, if you think about it for podcasting, it really is the exact same thing. The
Yeah.
only difference is that you don't have to have all of that investment of capital, of
Right.
infrastructure. You also don't have, as of this point, the government regulation that you do over the radio airwaves
Yeah.
that's probably antiquated, but it's already there.
Yeah.
So now they're at a disadvantage to social media and everything else because that's under a different regulation. So if you think about it, even just timing in business, like if
Yeah.
you look further and further back, that's how I put all these things together. But it's because I study. I
Yeah.
study the business, I study the host, and then the learning, and then the processes and the creativity. It's almost like when people ask, who are your mentors? I mean, my mentors are the best that have ever done it because I get to read all their work and I
Benjamin
get to
Franklin? No,
watch.
I'm just kidding. Yeah.
That was one of them. Yes, I
Yeah.
did.
12 Virtues. I
I had
love
my
him.
Benjamin Franklin days.
Yeah. I'm
I
huge.
went down those rabbit holes. That was
So,
before this recent, but yeah.
okay. So let me ask a question. So Johnny Carson is, obviously, yes, the best, depending
Yeah.
on how old you
On
are.
who? Yeah.
Would you, if Johnny Carson hadn't done interviews, but he
Mhm.
was just the best, like, deliverer of whatever,
Yeah.
monologues or something, would you have put as much emphasis on that?
I'll tell you that I possibly, but I would
Mhm.
say more so. I'll give you an example. Someone else. So Don Rickles. I
Yeah.
mean, he was never a host,
Mhm.
but he invented his own medium. He invented his own style of comedy, and he had one of the longest careers ever. Nobody else ever has ever taken to the extent to where literally insulting people is
Yeah.
basically his shtick. And so I studied him heavily. And the thing is because it's also time periods. So when
Yeah.
you think about these time periods in their careers, Bob Hope, he's never a host that I know. Well, other than like the maybe like variety show kind of
Yeah.
stuff,
No,
but he
you're
was
right.
never interviewing people. So Bob Hope, if you look at all of these individuals that really paved the way, but there's so much learning under every
Mm.
rock that you
Yeah.
turn.
Yeah.
And even just on models, like what made Johnny Carson like have one of even just the best lives, not talking about his many, marriages, personal side, whatever, but just financially was
Yeah.
that he had cash flow. All of his other contemporaries, they had real estate, they had money, they were wealthy, but they didn't have cash flow because they didn't have the Tonight Show and they didn't have those monthly payouts or weekly payouts.
Interesting.
So he always had cash coming in. So that taught me you need cash flow even on top of your larger investments so that
Yeah.
you're never just for quality of life in the business. So there's
Interesting.
learnings as a host creatively, there's learnings in lifestyle, there's learnings in human psychology of how
Mhm.
people will look at you, how they will treat you. There's learnings all along the way because to think that you're going to be in a similar business as someone else, not just Johnny Carson, but just in
Right.
general,
Right.
and that if you rise to a certain stature, certain things aren't going to happen, you would be naive or certain pressures aren't going to come to you.
You mentioned something about the live show. What are you referencing? Like, what was so?
The Tonight Show. The Tonight Show.
But I'm
Yeah.
saying, like, yes, that, but did you get some kind of insight into, wow, he did it this way, or he had
Absolutely.
I
I'll tell
mean,
you
like,
one, I'll give you a good one. And this takes so much pressure off of people.
mhm.
Like in the beginning, when I was first starting, I was so caught up in like, oh, it has to be this guest or it has to be that guest and
Mhm.
it has to be all these other things. But what he taught me was it's the person behind the mic, period.
Mhm.
Always. It's not the guest. It's never the guest. And the reason, and if you look later in his career when he has all these A-list celebrities,
Mhm.
then you would be like, oh, well, of course. Well, how am I going to book all these A-list celebrities? I just have my little podcast or I
Right.
just have my, well, in the beginning, he talks about, and I've even heard it and seen it on his channel, Johnny Carson channel. So that's on TV. He talks about like in the early days, I forgot who he was talking to on this particular interview, but on the early days, you'd interview anybody with a pulse.
Yeah.
Like, you had
Yeah.
a book, you added this, and the reason why, don't quote me on the amount of time, but I
Right.
could be a little off, but I think the original format was like a 3-hour show or something. So you had to
Interesting.
fill up all that time, basically, I don't know if it was 5 days or 4 days a week,
Yeah.
whatever that was, but, like, you have to fill up all that time. Over the years, it got refined to then it was like an
Yeah.
hour or less, and then even the time slot moved a little bit, but if you go at the early days, and even before the Tonight Show, and he was just sitting there interviewing people, like, you look at some of those early interviews, the
Mhm.
black and white stuff, and
Mhm.
you're like, I look at it and I'm like, man, I mean, you do this for 30 years and you could probably get pretty good. And now let me give you one other insight through this. Unlike his day or Bob Hope's day, or even like Jay Leno's day, let's bring it present day, or
Yeah.
David Letterman's day.
Mhm.
Unlike that, for us, because we have the ability to do virtual interviews and
Mhm.
because people accept that format and it's
Mhm.
changed, like I'm already talking about being a centurion, a podcaster. Like,
Yeah.
why would I ever want to not at least have one conversation with somebody super interesting per week? Like, while I'm
Yeah.
alive and assuming I'm
Yeah.
coherent and not going senile and I can hold a
Yeah.
even if I am going senile,
Then you be
whatever.
on this, and I'll just guide you down the yeah, perfect.
So
Senile
so if
guest
that's
welcome.
the case, then, like, why would somebody in the past, we were forced to into retirement, and, like, they
Right.
had network pressures, and, like, Bob Hope, and he had network pressures, and he probably kept it the longest to where he could
Yeah.
barely, like, read the cards anymore, but before they drug him off stage, which the network gave him so much respect that they allowed that to happen, right?
Yeah.
But that
Yeah.
being said, for us in podcasting and just doing in interviews in the way that we're doing it, like, why would you ever not do it? Year by year, your numbers are going to get higher,
Yeah.
period. Your audience is going to get bigger. So whether you're in it for power, money, legacy,
Right.
for fun, just for fun of it all, the
Mhm.
bigger your show gets, the higher level inquiries you're going to get.
Yeah.
Like,
You're right.
right now we're talking about, like, in the beginning, I had to beg people to come on the show. Now I'm actually having conversations about having presidents of countries on the show. Like, and that's probably going to happen this year. That's, to me, I'm like, are you kidding me? Come on. But this is true. This is all real stuff. Like, I'm talking to multiple people in Washington, D.C., and different lobbyists and people that are actually want to book presidents on the show. And I'm like, wow, and looking back from where we started, I'm only 9 years in this business. So now if you think about a career like Johnny Carson, 30 years on TV, then it's like, what
Yeah.
happens in 10 more years? I don't
Right.
know. But I do know one thing. I'm gonna keep on putting out 1,500 to 2,000 episodes
Lord have
because and
mercy.
find out.
Yeah. Let me ask you another question that I sort of started thinking of. How much going from the Johnny Carson 3-hour thing to the 1-hour
Yeah.
model or whatever it was, how important do you think the structure of the show was? Like, he does the opening monologue, then he does the
I'll give you a little bit of Howard Stern to answer that one. I'm going to
right.
paraphrase, but Howard Stern was having a conversation. I believe it was with Seinfeld. I'm like 90% certain. And this is out of one of his books. And I
Mhm.
remember it very clearly because it gave me a lot of guidance.
Mhm.
And what he essentially said as they're talking, and again, I'm paraphrasing,
Mhm.
was that the reason that it worked, or it might have been David Letterman actually. The reason why it worked was because they were doing things to entertain themselves.
Got
They're
it. So
not doing it
that's
for the audience.
that's funny
They're
because that's
doing it,
exactly why I do it.
but that's
Yeah.
what works. Where
Yeah.
people make a big mistake is that they start placating to the audience and then they don't
Yeah.
necessarily, like, it takes time though. So this one is also from Howard Stern,
Yeah.
is that period of time, and this is based on him talking about his own career. He
Yeah.
said, and he didn't use this word, but I'll use this word. It was essentially a blessing those days when he was in a small radio market and when
Mhm.
he was, and not too many people were listening
Mhm.
because, and these are his words, it gave him time to develop into somebody that was worth listening to.
Oh, great point.
So when he
Yeah.
got to that big market, like,
Right.
that's how
He
he
was
hit
worth
fire.
he deserved to be in the big
But he
market.
was, you could think of it almost like he was finding his voice.
Yeah.
Pun intended, pun not intended, doesn't matter. He was literally finding his voice. So with
Yeah.
podcasters and people that are just starting out and sometimes like, what are the numbers or what is this? What is
Yeah.
that? It's like, it's going to take you time to find your voice, period. Like, even myself, I'll give you my own journey. Our first show was called Money Matters.
Right.
that wasn't really that was a piece of me and it still is, but mission matters is way more aligned with what I'm into talking about. And that's what my conversations in the show was about. And that's what it was about from the beginning. So I didn't like how you had a clear vision for your show. So every day's a train wreck and it matches your person. That's why when you said it, I was like, oh my gosh, this is when no, we were just getting to know each other, but I was like, no, this is like, and then when I saw the design of you with your hands up and your mouth
Y-
open, you're like, like
yeah, yeah. The
I
train is
was like,
coming to bump me in the rump.
so for me, and I'm just saying this because not just my own journey, but for other people that are out there finding their voice, if your show's small, if you're getting X amount of downloads and you want more, it could be a blessing. It could be a
Hmm.
thing of like you getting ready. My first show, I don't know if you know this, Marley, but I was so scared to do my first show that I didn't even use my real name.
No, I
It's
didn't
true.
know that.
I had a moniker and it was like based off of a nickname. My office was in Century City. It was Mr. Century City. That was my very first
Oh,
show.
which is how you guys run the credit cards
And
now.
that was the original entity. I won't say it was a joke, but that was
I
just
get it.
it
Yeah.
literally like I trademarked Mr. Century City. That was kind of a joke. And I was in Century City and one of my lawyer friends, they were like, I was
Right.
managing money and I'm like, I'm gonna trade like that. You guys, and that was a nickname that people just called me and gave me because
That's
and it was just
awesome.
because I was really into the whenever I'm in a community like I'm in. So I was on the
Yeah.
board, I was of the Chamber of Commerce, all these other things.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
people would laugh. I walk into a room, oh, there was Mr. Century City and whatever. So that was my first, like, I wouldn't even say my name because
I
I was so
love
scared.
it. Now, how long did it take you? I'm not going to ask you
Yeah,
specifics, but
you're good.
obviously I have a book called But Are You Making Any Money? So
Sure.
it's always the question of like, when you started this with Shrug, I mean, it's a new entrepreneur, even though you
Day
guys have
one, we
done
make
your,
money day one. I
got it.
took it as a business day one. Remember, I wasn't in media. So where
Right.
everybody else comes from the school of creativity and this and that, for
Yeah.
me, I was counting how much it was costing for a piece of content to come out. Like in
Okay.
the beginning, I was so day one, we had to make money on the front end, during, on the back end. Like I took it as a regular business. And I still had my other business, by the way. So I was still managing money at that time,
Yeah.
but I couldn't go full time if this wasn't, you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
that wasn't the plan. I never planned on being full time in media. That
Sure.
was because the business kept growing and I
Right.
had to make a decision of
Right.
I personally, some people can, I personally couldn't focus 100% on two different things.
Okay. So how did you, because talking to entrepreneur, being an entrepreneur
Yeah.
myself, talking to entrepreneurs, that you just always feel like your hair is on fire for the most
Hmm.
part, right? And you're being pulled in so many directions. And entrepreneurs have a lot of excuses, right? Of, oh, it wasn't making any money because, it takes a year to be profitable, blah, 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 all these different things. But for you, and then the other thing is, well, how can I be the content creator and still be making money? Like in the
Yeah.
beginning, I understand wearing all those different hats. So, how did you set up from the beginning
Yeah.
something that would make money so that you can be doing what it is you do best? Because it's most
Mhm.
people's dream to be able to spend 70% of their time doing, quote, their thing.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, when you think about it, though, let's go back to the early days of it. It wasn't my thing, nor was I trying to, nor was it easy, right?
Mhm.
Remember doing 70 interviews a day, or not a day, excuse me,
I
a
was
week,
going to,
and being in the fetal position at the end of the
right,
day and having an ice pack on my head because I have a
right,
splitting headache every single day. And
right.
then after that, then I get to start working.
Yeah.
Because remember, you're doing interviews all day, right?
Yep.
So it was that my dream or was that anybody else's dream? I don't think so. Like
Yeah.
I think what I saw a niche and I saw a thing and it spoke to me and I continued down that path. And speaking of trains, and I don't think you know this, Marley, but I talk about it all the time, is I use the train analogy a lot when they talk about like my career and what I'm doing. It's like you're on this train
Hmm.
and it's going faster and faster and
Hmm.
faster. And I set up systems around productivity so that we would continue to grow. And that means like things like scheduling, things
Hmm.
like replies, all of these
Hmm.
other systems. So
Hmm.
just business systems so that we'd keep growing. And then the train gets moving fast enough and it's real hard to get off at a certain point. And when
Oh
I
yeah.
gave up my
Oh yeah.
licenses, there is no getting off.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. But a lot of that setting up systems is about
Yeah.
efficiency and that makes you more money once you're making. But what was your revenue
Well, the
Like,
very first, I'll tell you, let me give you the very first product. The
yeah.
very first product, we had a deck. And at this time, myself and Shirag, we were more so networking. We were friends. We had gotten to know each other. I met Shirag. I swiped right on LinkedIn and we've been together ever since.
Yeah.
That's our story. But in the very beginning, it was over a holiday break. And I remember I created a deck for this anthology book that we were going to that I wanted to put together. And essentially, and here goes actually the 11th edition I'm holding up here, which is insane. We've published over
Wow.
400 people in the series, best-selling
Jeez
series.
Louise.
We've published literally congressmen, we've published billionaires, I mean, you name it, we've
Yeah.
published in this book. So it's an amazing. I don't understand how it still is happening, but it's a
Yeah.
blessing, and it's interesting because people participate that don't need to participate, but they do. And we have actually a book signing and a book release coming out at the Roosevelt House in New York. Insane. That's like where
Oh,
it's
wow.
insane. Like
That is,
a congresswoman is hosting it.
yeah.
So it's just one of those things to where I don't know how it's all happening, but do want to answer your question, but I want to give some context.
Yeah. Yeah.
In the beginning for that was our first product and it was simple. The concept was easy. People were coming to me asking me to help them with a book because people saw that I published a book.
Mhm.
I was a financial advisor. I said,
Yeah.
I can't help you publish a freaking book.
Right.
How am I going
Right.
to? I don't
Right.
know anything about publishing. Look at this. Did
Right.
you see my book? Like, it's
Right.
not that good. It's
Right.
okay.
Right. Right.
So I looked at different models because I'm a finance guy. And I said, well, if I was to do this, what would make sense? And I saw Chicken Soup for the Soul.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, okay. That's what Jack Canfield did. That's what
Mhm.
Deepak Chopra did way back when. And I
Mhm.
thought, you know what? What if somebody did something like that, but for entrepreneurs and for leaders and for people like that I know, like business people?
Yeah.
And so I created a deck and I originally pitched Shirag and said, hey, you want to be part of this book? And I just pitched some other people in the network. And Shirag said, not only do I want to be part of it, but I want to be part of this business. And I'm like, what business? I didn't even know what he was talking about. I was like, I just had a deck. That was it.
Yeah.
So when you talk about my investment, zero.
Yeah.
It was a debt because I was still making money in finance. I still had my
Yeah.
practice. I still had
Yeah.
all that. So I wasn't looking to start a marketing or media company. Like
Right.
I didn't even know anything about it. I didn't even know that was a company really.
Yeah.
And so it started from there. And then a lot of individuals that wanted to participate in the book, we would meet at the Beverly Wilshire once a month on
Mhm.
Thursdays and just hang out. And we got some people that wanted to be part of it. We all got into the book and then we launched it. And then it just kept going. And so how did we make money on that? The concept was simple. Well, I'm not paying for your book. Everybody put in 2-3 grand. That'll pay to get it done. And that'll
Yeah.
pay for some marketing. And then
Yeah.
we can all go out there and promote it. But you notice that was money on the front end. Like
Yeah.
I'm not paying on some people that are in that book have way more money than me. I'm like, you
Yeah.
need
Yeah.
to pay my book.
Yeah. Exactly. I love it.
So that was the start. So every time we launch a product or something else, it's because the market wants it. If nobody would have participated in that book, there would be no Mission Matters.
I love it. Well, there's so many lessons here, and it just tells me that you're going to be doing another interview with me because I could go on for hours and hours and hours. So, for people who are interested, want to chat with you, find out how to find you, maybe want to start a podcast, get connected to you and Shirag, who knows, want to take their businesses to the next level. What is the best way to do that?
Just connect with me on Instagram. Ask Adam Torres. There's a link there. But if you have a show idea, a book idea, something like that, just shoot me a DM. I love reading pitches. I love reading show ideas. I mean, it feeds my creativity too. I like to see what people are doing and I'm accessible. So just Instagram, Ask Adam Torres. And if you're interested in any of our content, I believe we give out more free content than any company of our size on the planet. So there's a link there on my Instagram that if you click on it, you'll see a link tree and there's all kinds of like ebooks and launching podcasts and writing books on you name it. There's all newsletters, you name it. So there's a ton of free content if you want that too. But either way, Ask Adam Torres on Instagram.
I love it. Adam, this has been awesome. It's gone in so many different directions, which I love. And I'm so grateful for you getting me over the hump and actually starting
I got to visit the Langham. You reminded me about the Langham. I haven't even heard that in ages.
My. Well, yeah, I'd be happy to give you a tour. Show you all the dark corners. No, just kidding.
Oh, my God.
Yeah, I know where to hide at the Langham. All right, so yeah, shout out to the Langham. The form I still think was just magic when it was the Huntington Hotel, but that's a whole other story. Yeah, and speaking of the local thing, we all go there the day after Thanksgiving because that's when still all the kids would come home from college. But it's a long time from college, and I still end up at the Langham. All right. So, Adam, I can't thank you enough. And this is Marley Major with another episode of Every Day's a Train Wreck. And you know what to do. If you haven't subscribed, please subscribe. Please rate 5 stars if you're so inclined. Leave a comment. And since we're very businessy on this one, if you want to find me, you can reach out on Instagram at The Profit Goddess. So another great one. Thanks, Adam. And
Thank
we
you,
will have
Marley.
you on again. Okay.
Thank you.
Ciao for now.